I will dismiss the sergeant at arms the day I become majority leader, January 21st, if McConnell, who appointed him, doesn't get rid of him sooner.
We have the after-action review, but it goes beyond the Capitol Police. It goes to the FBI. What was the shortcoming in their intelligence that they provided?
They sent her information, basically.
But they had no leadership, no preparation. Everyone knew this would happen.
Basically saying it was going to happen, but one of the most important pieces of intel that she had, it was an intel report 21 TD 159. She had that report and she got it. I think it was December the 21st.
Goes to the Department of Defense. How long did it take for them to respond or anticipate the need for the National Guard?
Frankly, just so you understand, I assumed that she took care of it.
Did we go back into session?
We did go back into session.
It goes to many other elements of the executive branch.
Good morning, Chairwoman Klobuchar, Ranking Member
full
Blunt,
review.
Chairman Peters, and Ranking Member Portman. I witnessed insurgents beating police officers with fists, pipes, sticks, bats, metal barricades, and flagpoles.
Investigation should be considered as to the funding and traveling what appears to be professional agitators.
Tonight from an explosive letter written by an anonymous former Capitol Police officer describing top department officials as responsible for the single greatest intelligence failure in the history of the U.S. Capitol Police, calling out senior leaders Yogananda Pittman and Sean Gallagher specifically.
The high-ranking whistleblower that I referred to, his name is Jeffrey J. Pickett, and he was a deputy chief on January 6th.
These criminals came prepared for war. They came with their own radio system to coordinate the attack and climbing gear and other equipment to defeat the Capitol's security features. I am sickened by what I witnessed that day. Our officers fought valiantly, using batons, shields, chemical munitions, and pepper ball guns to hold back the attackers.
Quote, what I observed was them mostly sitting there, blankly looking at the TV screens showing real-time footage of others. A law enforcement source tells NBC News the two leaders were focused on the evacuation of congressional leadership.
So the Congresswoman asks specifically, if you were talking to both Sergeant at Arms at the same time, why did the House get evacuated later? She never answered that question. And the reason is because she was not initiating any evacuation because I did it.
Every day I think about the well-being of the officers.
Capitol Police say although there's more work to do, many of the problems described in the letter have been addressed and that they're committed to learning from prior mistakes.
It's all the more reason that we need to continue to see an aggressive January 6th bipartisan commission pursue the ground truth of what happened that day.
Once assuming the position of the Senate Sergeant at Arms, enhancement of the working relationship between my office and U.S. Capitol Police has been a priority.
So now, if she would have at least, because she's watching all of this take place on camera, because she has cameras all over the command center, and from what I heard, she never left the command center. So she's in there and she's watching.
Quote, what I observed was them mostly sitting there, blankly looking at the TV screens showing real-time footage of others.
And she would not help. If she would have evacuated or called for the evacuation of the House when I did the Senate, Ashley Babbitt would have met an empty chamber when she walked in there, and she would have never been shot.
However, casting blame solely on United States Capitol Police leadership is not only misplaced, but it also minimizes what truly occurred that day. The focus going forward needs to be on the efforts to improve intelligence and the coordination of security measures between all involved agencies.
There is an opportunity to learn lessons from the events of January 6th. Investigation should be considered as to the funding and traveling what appears to be professional agitators. First Amendment rights should always be considered in conjunction with these investigations.
These criminals came prepared for war. They came with their own radio system to coordinate the attack and climbing gear and other equipment to defeat the Capitol's security features.
The mayor of D.C. gave us a letter saying that she turns it down. Okay, we have it. Nancy Pelosi also was asked, and she turned it down. The police commissioner
I'm talking
of
about
Capitol
the day
Police,
of,
wait a minute.
Yep.
Capitol Police said that he wanted it and Nancy Pelosi wouldn't accept it.
Based on the intelligence that we received, we plan for an increased level of violence at the Capitol and that some participants may be armed. But none of the intelligence we received predicted what actually occurred.
Virginia Guard has been called in.
You know, I'm just talking to Governor Northam, and what he said is they sent 200 of state police and a unit of the National Guard. They're breaking windows and going in, obviously ransacking our offices and all the rest of that.
225, maybe 220, between 224 and 226.
The January 6th Select Committee, who played clips in their hearing Thursday.
Around that time frame. I just went on ahead and did it on my own at 228. Now, I didn't want to do both at the same time because I couldn't see over there because I wasn't over there. I couldn't give a safe route out.
Senator Schumer is at a secure location, and they're locked down in the Senate.
There has to be some way we can maintain the sense that people have that there's some security or some confidence.
It appears that the established incident command for the Capitol building was overwhelmed by the enormity of the situation and as officials battling insurrections as opposed to directing the response.
The high-ranking whistleblower that I referred to, his name is Jeffrey J. Pickett, and he was a deputy chief on January 6th who actually responded when he saw the chaos, and he responded from Cheltenham, Maryland to D.C. to assist. Yogananda Pittman was already there, and she wouldn't help us.
There have also been reports that some officers may have felt confused or let down during the attack. As an official who cares as much as I do about my colleagues, nothing is more painful to me.
Even if she didn't want to initiate the evacuation, she could have had somebody respond over there to initiate it. They know the Senate evacuation was occurring unless she turned off her radio and turned off the computer screens inside of the command center.
Law enforcement coordination in the National Capital Region should be reviewed to determine what can be done in a more efficient and productive manner.
So I can go on and on and on, but I'll let you jump in and ask the question.
Yeah, well, first of all, what was the number of that intel report again?
21 TD 159.
These issues must be addressed through new training, policies, and procedures. Even our best efforts were not enough to stop this unprecedented assault on the Capitol. However, casting blame solely on United States Capitol Police.
My mission is this. I'm trying to get to explain to people this, that number one, that January 6th was absolutely a setup. There's no question. And we can prove it. You have to look at like Chief Son, who was the actual chief of the Capitol Police on January 6th.
And and you have that in my professional opinion.
We have got to finish the proceedings or else we're going to have a complete victory.
He stayed behind in the Capitol with his security detail.
I worry about you being in that Capitol building. Now, don't let anybody know where you are.
I'd like to know a good goddamn reason why it's been denied.
Then Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer shouting at Army Secretary Ryan McCarthy after hearing a rumor Trump blocked the National Guard going to the Capitol.
I understand that the police testified against her, the chief very strongly against her. Capitol Police, great people. They testified against her, and they burned all the evidence. Okay, they burned all the evidence. They destroyed all the evidence about Nancy Pelosi.
What do you say to people who wonder why you as commander-in-chief, you have authorities that Nancy Pelosi doesn't have as commander-in-chief?
No, she has authority over the Capitol.
Why didn't you send help in that moment, though?
Frankly, just so you understand, I assumed that she took care of it. She turned down.
So when you realized that the National Guard wasn't coming?
Well, you don't realize anything until quite a while. National Guard not coming. I asked it to be there 3 days in advance, and she turned it down.
She says that request was never officially made.
Oh,
just so you know.
Let me just tell you.
Let me ask you about pardons,
let me
Mr.
tell you.
President.
The mayor of D.C. gave us a letter saying that she turns it down. Okay, we have it. Nancy Pelosi also was asked, and she turned it down. The police commissioner
I'm talking about
Capitol
the day
Police,
of,
wait a minute.
Yep.
Capitol Police said that he wanted it, and Nancy Pelosi wouldn't accept it. She's responsible for January 6th.
Mr. President.
Nancy Pelosi's responsible.
Quote, she is responsible for January 6th.